Hey there, everybody. Welcome back with the Plat, and you read the title right. We're doing a giveaway for this game right here, Octopath Traveler 2. First, we're going to do another second part of the video, but I want to do the giveaway information for people that are only interested in that. But I recommend you stick around because we're going to be talking about the Apothecary and why I think they kind of got buffed and it seems like an overall buff to the Apothecary, but there might be a nerf. We'll get into it a little bit. Anyway, we're already doing a giveaway for Octopath Traveler 2. So all you got to do to enter, you got to be subscribed to the YouTube channel, and you got to leave a comment, and that's it. The reason you need to be subscribed and leave a comment is because I'm using a program that will look for subscribers and look for comments. If you leave multiple comments, it will not give you multiple entries. Once there's one comment, the program I'm using has the ability to only look for, take into consideration one comment from each person. So you don't need to spam. You need to be subscribed at least after the giveaway. Then you can do whatever you want. So I'm giving away a copy on Steam. If you really can't get Steam, we'll see if we can make it work on some sort of console release. We'll try to find a workaround to get you there. But yeah, that's basically it. I would appreciate the support COTC has given me over this time. You know, it's made my YouTube channel much bigger, and I kind of want to give back a little bit, and I'm sure that everyone that plays Octopath COTC wants to play Octopath Traveler 2. And I may not be rich, but I definitely got enough where I can give away at least one copy of the game. So please enter. It would be great for me if you guys shared the video, but you're not incentivized to, because the more entries, the less likely you are to win. But it's a good way to give back to me. But that's why the requirements are be subscribed, leave a comment, and we are going to do the giveaway 2 days before the release of the game. That way I have time to get it to you and you have time to get it downloaded. Let's take a look at the release date off the top of my head. February 24th. So February 22nd, I'm going to be choosing a winner. So 10 days as of recording, probably 9 days as of the video release. Anyway, with that out of the way, we're going to jump into the meat and potatoes of the video here. We're talking about the Apothecary and how they changed from Octopath 1. I'm going to probably do one of these for every class or nearly every class. And then I want to try to get a bunch of videos out before the game comes out. That way people are best informed about who they want to start as and who they want to collect and yada, yada, blah, blah. Plus, it's just a fun kind of video to make. So we're starting with the Apothecary because out of the 3 or 4 characters I played, they are the most different. Quite a bit different than their predecessor, which is Alphen. So we got Casty here. And first and foremost, we're going to go over the skills, and then we'll go over the secondary aspect. Well, I guess first and most minorly, she has a secondary path action. Instead of just Inquire, she also has the ability to Soothe. So this seems to be basically how the thief Throne can knock people out. She basically can knock people out as well, but I don't think you need a level. I think you just need to consume items, so certain items will allow you to do it. But also, it seems like you'll be able to use heal people's hurts. But it seems like you could also just like knock people out sometimes. It seems like a decent way to get people out of the way. However, also, I think there's going to be more practical uses of helping sick people. Inquire hasn't changed. It seems to be exactly the same as what I remember it. And she does have Concoct and a second talent here that's invisible. So we don't have perfect knowledge here. We're just kind of going with what we could do here. But Concoct is quite a bit different. That's what we're going to say for last. I actually think it's the most drastically different, which is why there could potentially be a nerf, but also potentially a buff. It really depends on what they let you concoct, which I don't have perfect knowledge on right now. But let's take a look at the skills. So the skills here are actually going to be quite a bit different. We're going to skip Healing Touch because that's a very interesting skill. We're going to go right to the second one. Icicle. This is the one, there's basically 2 skills that aren't changing at all. That's Icicle. It deals ice damage to a single foe, and Rehabilitate. Rehabilitate, cure a single ally of all status ailments and render them immune to further ailments for 2 turns. That's what you got. Now, from this point on, things are a little bit different. In Octopath 1, you have Amputate, which is just a really powerful axe attack on a single foe. This is, you release an axe attack, but it's on all foes. I wish there were like potencies. I don't know if this is stronger or weaker. It obviously it's kind of hard to tell in the early game. I assume it's weaker, but it does hit all foes. You got some AoE. Very, very cool. So Poison Axe. This is kind of interesting. They basically took 2 abilities, made it weaker, but they combined it into one. So in Octopath 1, you had Poison a single foe for 2 turns. Now you have Unleash a powerful axe attack on a foe and poison them for 2 turns. So now you don't need to have Poison. Now you have a axe attack that will also just poison, but you're doing increased damage over your attack anyway. So it's just pure upside. So we don't have Last Stand anymore, which I think Last Stand, the lower your HP got, the more damage you dealt, right? Like, if you're at 1 HP, you did a bunch of damage. So this doesn't have the scaling. I think on the low end, it's stronger, but on the high end where Last Stand was insane, this is probably not as good. But the fact that it poisons and it does the axe, it's kind of nice that they took both those skills, combined them into one. And now you have an AoE attack too. So I guess Last Stand did hit all foes. So this might just be like a downgrade, but I guess this is more of an amputation combined with poison than anything. So very important here. Instead of Vivify, revive a single incapacitated ally. We don't have Vivify anymore. What the heck? Turns out they combined another 2 abilities. Healing Touch. Healing Touch is now first aid, restore HP to a single ally, or revive a single ally. So this is kind of insane. So now your heal could also just revive people. Very, very cool that they combine these 2 abilities into one. Now you don't have to worry about it as much. You know, you could have, they have more space for basically cool abilities. So I really like this change. Healing Touch is overall just a better ability in general. I like versatile things. This is more versatile, although, like, does it matter that much? Probably not. There might be some way to combine this to like do an AoE heal, but now it's an AoE heal on some and then revive on others. So that could be really good. But now we do have a secondary healing spell, which is actually like super sick. It's like regen. Grant HP to a single ally after they perform an action. I haven't messed with this enough to know if you use multiple BP and attack multiple times. I assume that only heals you once. Like once per turn, you get a heal after you enact. Now, the way this is worded, I don't know if this works if you're put to sleep because you don't take an action. I assume that it does, but it's not exactly clear. But it is for 3 turns. Grant, you know, they heal over 3 turns. I love regeneration overall. It's I love preemptive healing because you know a boss is going to do something, but you don't want to spend turns healing. So you could heal before that happens. That way, after the damage is dealt to you, you can, instead of healing with this character, you could still go in for more damage, or you could work on other things like concocting or getting rid of status ailments you have to get rid of. So I like this. Single target, very weak. We definitely want it to be multi-target, but beggars can't be choosers, all right? Weak to poison. Now, this makes a single foe weak to poison for 2 turns. Pretty darn simple. This is another new ability they didn't have. So I kind of like this emphasis on poison a bit more with the poison axe and the weak to poison, but I don't know if this merely decreases the resistance to poison, so it's easier to poison foes. I assume not. I assume it's not like poison axe where because it seems like it just lands poison, right? It doesn't say and a chance to poison. So I assume this will make poison deal more damage. Which is potentially really good. Although for 2 turns seems really low. Combined with 2 turns of the poison, they don't line up because they're not in the same ability. So you're either going to want another way to poison enemies, or you're going to want to do a BP charge into weak poison to make it more turns. But at that point, am I going to want to use BP on weak to poison? Probably not. But this is something that I think is cool, and it does feel like there is a potential poison build or poison synergy with other characters. If you can get other characters to poison foes, then suddenly weak to poison could be very, very good. It depends on how much weaker it makes them, I suppose. So the skills are actually quite a bit different. I do think the passives are relatively the same. We don't have them all unlocked. And again, this isn't like a perfect, we know everything knowledge, right? Where I'm just playing in the early game of the demo. But figured that it would be fun to point out some of the initial changes. That way you kind of have an idea of what you're getting into. You don't necessarily think like, oh, I played Apothecary in 1. I know exactly what their play style is in number 2. They are definitely a little bit different. Still only the one elemental ability, so they're likely going to be more physical focused. But I mean, you can always address that. So, concoct. Concoct is drastically different, I would say. And you know, if you've played Octopath 1, you're pretty familiar. You concoct, you combine an ingredient, and then you combine another ingredient. There's like mild, like hazardous, and then there's mild healing ailment ones, and then you combine things until you find, and then once you find a combination, you know it, you like discover it. That was kind of okay mechanically, but I always kind of just wasted a bunch of stuff looking for it. This game is, I think, improved the system quite a bit. So now you choose medical or hazardous right out the gate and use all the same ingredients. Not all the same ingredients, but like use, actually, you know what? I lied. You don't use almost any of the same ingredients, but you do have the ability to mix two ingredients together. How do I get rid of that? Is that X? There we go. And what is fantastic is instead of combining two ingredients, not knowing what they're doing, which I actually think isn't very good. It's kind of weird. In Octopath 1, I think it would make sense for Casty. Casty is amnesia. So not knowing what things do when you combine them and then discovering that, I think makes perfect sense for Casty as she remembers her things. But Alphen, it didn't make much sense to me. And in this character, it's opposite. You know what everything does, and you're just mixing effects, and using BP increases the number of times you can do this. All right, that's a bad explanation, but let's go to hazardous, for example. We can see what everything does. You always have access to something called weeds, which will do, you know, random, slightly positive status effect. It's pretty bad. Weeds on concoction, hazardous is a little bit better, but you see what your items do when you pick them, right? So this deals wind-based damage. This deals light-based damage. Dark damage, put a target to sleep. And then diffusing serum, this will let you target, basically make things, instead of single foe, it'll make it target all foes. If you take a look here, an ingredient for concoctions extends the reach of effects to all. Same with healing, right? So you can see heals HP, heals SP, raises physical attack, nullifies status ailments, and makes it target all allies. So this, what's interesting is that you have a set amount of charges. Like you can put two things, but your BP allows you to use more or less. So let's go ahead and just defend really quick, get up to 3 BP. And so if we're going to concoct something, we could use 2 effects, right? But if we use the BP, we could use 3 effects, 4 effects, up to 5 effects. And she actually has this really cool latent power. This isn't Apothecary specific. I should clarify. This is Casty specific. She's the one that could use concoct just like Alphen could, but they started the Apothecary. So that's kind of what I'm comparing it to, obviously. If you make other characters Apothecaries, they're not going to be getting this ability. That feels a little bit loud right now. Let's lower that just a little bit. Just a tad here. Just go down from 9 to 3. There we go. That's fine for now. So keep that in mind. But yeah, you could do ×5. She gets a latent ability to concoct without consuming any materials. Now, that's maybe good. It depends if there's very few but very rare and powerful ingredients that you can always use. However, if it just becomes a money saver, that's going to be kind of a weak ability overall. But we're not, you know, that's not that strong. So the reason why I say the character got a buff is I really like that a lot of their abilities feel combined. Like the fact that first aid doesn't just heal, that it can revive. The fact that poison axe now poisons and does axe damage, and that fact you can like the concoct, you can find exactly what you want and do multiple attacks, right? So now if this foe, right, he's weak to ice, right? I actually don't have ice, but maybe he's weak to wind. So if we want to discover weaknesses, this is actually something we could do. We can just do Bluster Bloom, Lily of the Night, Dark Dandelion, and then a Dreamy Flower. So you can see every time we add something, it just adds the effect to what we're gonna do. You could do wind damage 3 times, you know, you could do 3 wind attacks. You could do a wind attack, like, so anything you do. The only thing is, to make it all foes actually does take one of the slots. So that's like a pretty big deal if you're deciding to do that. So I'm not going to do that, but we can add weeds, all right? And so now we're going to throw a hazardous concoction. It doesn't increase the potency of the ingredients. That's worth noting. It just lets you do more ingredients, okay? So very, very important thing to note. Also, I just noticed that in this game, when an enemy's broken, all attacks seem to do equal damage. Like if someone's weak to ice, you have to break their shields with ice, but once they're broken, ice, fire, axes all do like damage the same. You don't get a damage bonus based off their weaknesses after they're broken. But so we're gonna go ahead and do this, and we're gonna toss it, and we're gonna see, it'll probably do it in order: light damage, dark damage, put them to sleep, wind damage, and then a negative effect. Boom, boom. And they happen to be weak to none of that. But we did actually give him defense down for 1 turn, which is very little. So weeds are pretty bad as a solo character, which won't last very long. But if she goes fast, she throws some weeds on characters. Like I could see it being viable just to do a concoction with double weeds on a foe, right? And then you have the other 3 party members just take advantage of whatever that is. In that one, we did speed 2 separate times. And it actually did like 10 little damage too. But I wonder if this actually heals. Let's take a look. That one doesn't heal. That one does just give a little bit of a... Oh, did we get counter? What is that? Oh, I thought it was evasion up. Okay. But yeah, so those are going to be the main differences. I really actually do think it's a buff overall, especially because like you can make exactly what you want. Right now it's very easy, like, all right, HP, physical attack, we can do physical attack for 4 turns, and then you know what, I need some of that SP back, so now we can do physical attack 4 turns, heal, and an SP all in one go and get that ready. So it's like a very, very customizable and powerful potion. However, I haven't seen anything that lets you give BP to the whole party or give BP in general. I assume that's going to be in here, but I haven't seen it, and that was what made the Apothecary so broken in the last one. I mean, it's broken for its flexibility and its power, but I do think that they might nerf the ingredients and what the ingredients can do, which will affect concoct as a whole. But I still think this is an insanely powerful ability and absolutely worth doing. But yeah, those are going to be the main differences between the Apothecary that I can see so far in Octopath 1 and 2. Hopefully this video was fun and entertaining. Don't forget to enter the giveaway. Purplatypus is Purplatypus. Much love. I will see you guys in the next one. You have a good night or day. I don't care. It's night for me, but you guys have a good life. Peace.